I was limited when it comes to exploring my talent. I was limited when it comes to emotional stability. I was also limited when it comes to exploring my financial heights in many ways. I can't even go into the depth of that. But I reminded myself of one thing, and I think that if many of us as humans and as women, if we remind ourselves of this fact, it helps us, it makes the picture.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to another episode of One Limitless Question with Z, a safe space where every answer reveals a story. I'm your host Z, and I'm honored to have you here with me today. Here on One Limitless Question, I ask just one question, a question that explores what it means to be limitless in life, in faith, and in becoming the woman Allah created you to be. But before we dive into the question, I would love for my beautiful guest to introduce herself. So, Queen, please tell us your name, what you do, and where people can connect with you.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Zulaihat Tijani, but people call me Zuli. I am a content creator and I am also a business person. I'm currently building my brand, Let's Brand, where we create carrot oil and other natural products. And I'm here today to answer the one ultimate what it means to be limitless. So stick with us.
Okay, thank you so much for that, sis. Now let's get into the questions. So, sis, what does being limitless mean to you?
Being limitless to me means exploring everything that you can do within the bounds of halal and achievable. Even achievable is debatable. For example, whether it's about education or it's about your career or it is about societal matters, as long as it exists within the bounds of halal and it exists within the bounds of your personal capabilities, then you should go for it. So in my journey, I've tried a whole lot of things. And in spite of the fact that I've failed in many things, there is a certain level of comfort, there is a certain level of gratefulness that I feel knowing that I tried to do that. And it makes me feel that I do not limit myself with the bounds of negativity, but within the bounds of possibilities. That is what being limitless means to me.
Okay, thank you so much for that, sis. So, can you share a moment or experience in your life where you truly felt that way or wished you had?
I've had a couple of experiences in my life where I felt, being limited. But to answer your question, I think the most recent experience that will fit perfectly, that would answer this question perfectly, was early this year when I was faced in a situation whereby I had to choose between survival and provision of my livelihood, or provision of my livelihood, which came from being in a place whereby I was limited when it comes to exploring my talent. I was limited when it comes to emotional stability. I was also limited when it comes to exploring my financial heights in many ways. I can't even go into the depth of that. But I reminded myself of one thing, and I think that if many of us as humans and as women, if we remind ourselves of this fact, it helps us, it makes the picture clearer and it helps us make right decisions. And that fact was the fact that my sustenance and my provision comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. The moment I reminded myself that it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only, I was able to turn my back and move along, even though the path ahead looked very, very unclear. Another rewarding feeling that came from making that kind of decision was that I hadn't felt that free in a long time. I really did feel like I could do whatever it is I wanted to do now. You know, when they say when you hit rock bottom, the only way up, the only way to look is up. That was how it felt. It felt very free. It felt like I wasn't tied down by the shackles of someone else's expectation, someone else's dream, someone else's goals. But I had the opportunity of facing my life now and doing what exactly it is I want to do. And so far it has been challenging, but wallahi, my survival and my sustenance has actually come from Allah, and I do not feel like I'm being limited by someone else's forces
Yeah,
so far. So
alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
yeah, that was it for me.
Oh, alhamdulillah for that. So, do you not believe that being limitless requires letting go of fear and trusting Allah more deeply?
So absolutely, like I explained, I actually battled with that decision of leaving for a few years. And I thought for a moment I was the one in control, that I needed to do X, Y, and Z and X, Y, and Z before I make that decision. That if I don't get this right, if I don't get that right, I wouldn't be fine if I don't make that decision. But all of those things were just symptoms of fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of uncertainty, fear of what if this, what if that, what if that. But like I said, by the time I reminded myself that Allah alone is Ar-Rahman, He alone is the owner of sustenance. Like He truly, you know that verse in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that as long as the bird leaves its
Yes.
nest in the
Yes,
morning
yeah.
and flies out, it will
Yes,
come back
right.
with its belly full,
Full,
because
yeah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide the food for it for that day. So I knew that as long as I needed to try and do something, that I would not go to bed hungry. So trusting Allah alone, like there are no better words I can explain it. Trusting Allah alone, the secret was the core ingredient
Hmm.
to trying to achieve a limitless life.
No, alhamdulillah. So, sometimes being limitless require outgrowing
Yeah.
people, places that keeps you small. So how do you handle that part of the journey?
Honestly, it's not easy. It's really not easy because there are times whereby you want to make a decision and it's easy to tell people to believe, but it's not always easy to believe. And I think it's important that we talk about these things, because if, for example, you're telling someone that you can outgrow this person, let me use a very Nigerian example. You can outgrow your boss and you're aspiring to maybe triple your income, and your core survival is coming from just your boss, and at that time you're having, one third of what you feel like you deserve. It is not easy to tell someone to instantly outgrow that person or outgrow that situation, or just believe that they can outgrow that situation when what they are dealing with is completely different. What I'll say in that situation is, first, even when it sounds like a lie to you, even when you're telling yourself that I deserve more, it's not easy to tell people to believe, especially when their reality is something else.
Mm-hmm.
But you deserve three times more than what you're earning. But what you're
Mm-hmm.
earning is currently the reason why you're able to put food on your table. If I'm going to use myself as an example, I would say that that journey, that experience I just talked about a few minutes ago. One of the things that helped me overcome that experience, and I'm very grateful to Allah, was that
Alhamdulillah.
I have a family, Alhamdulillah.
Okay.
I surrounded myself with family, even though things were also hard for everybody around me. But I also learned, it was a teaching moment for me from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes when Allah wants to solve your problems, He puts you in a situation where you learn. You have
Yeah.
to learn certain things that you're lacking. And the lessons you learn from those things you're lacking is what you now apply into your life, and then you now make it better. So one of the things that I learned was that I needed to be able to be comfortable with receiving help, because I had always been the kind of person that is, it was sort of drilled into my head from an early age to be independent, to not ask for help. So those things sort of, it's part of the reasons why it was very difficult for me to move on for years. But when I got to a point where I could no longer take it anymore, the boundaries were and the shackles were just too deep,
Much.
bearing into my skin, that I had to make that decision. I had no choice but to ask for help. So I asked for help from family members, and I had to sort of be comfortable with managing very little. Like, so if you're in that situation where you need to outgrow people, you have to remember and you have to know and recognize that that transition, that process of outgrowing that person and becoming your own person, is not going to be an easy journey. It's not
Yeah.
going to be like you see in the movies where you just wake up one morning and then you put on your bag and then life has turned around for you. No. In fact, if you, for example, if outgrowing someone, outgrowing a place for you might be leaving that toxic job, getting another job where you're now comfortable and you're now deserving might take longer than you expect.
Yeah.
It might be, it's, in fact, you will get tested to the point whereby you might find yourself wanting to go back to that same situation where you left. So
That's right.
you have to first recognize that it's going to be a tough journey ahead and that it is not going to be easy. But you also must remind yourself that that journey of difficulty is better than the shackles you're in. Because in this journey of difficulty, you are going to genuinely be limitless. And at the end of that journey, you definitely be better than what you were before. Also, practical steps that you can now take is you can now begin to ask for help from those that you know can help you. And I heard this phrase from somewhere that a closed mouth is a closed destiny. So you need to actually you
exactly.
need to actually ask for help, and then you need to basically ask it for help and being comfortable with being helped out. Don't be afraid to be the one receiving the charity. Just be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it even came to you in the first place. When you open yourself to being able to ask for help and being able to rely on others as long as they are willing to help you, it cushions the effect a little bit, and it gives you that push you need to make that tough decision of getting rid of that person or getting rid of that situation. And during that process where it gets to the point where you get what you truly deserve, you're going to learn a lot. You'll probably cry at night, but it's going to be better. You will not go to bed hungry, or you will not die from starvation. You will not be homeless. Like, the worst comes to worst will not happen. But it's going to be a tough journey, but it's going to be very rewarding at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. So how do you think we can exist a place successfully without bad blood?
I feel like that deserves an episode on its own. Because human nature, understanding human nature, oof.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's tough.
Okay, without bad blood, sometimes you don't have control over that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you do not have control over that. What you have control over is how you react to it. So there's certain situations where if you're a troublesome person, if you're naturally a troublesome person, or you're someone who gets angry easily, or you're someone who backbites, or you're someone who does those negative things, you will definitely contribute to the bad blood that is around you. But as long as you're not the instigator, it doesn't mean that there will never be bad blood around you, because humans are different, and your success alone can be the reason why bad blood exists around you. So one of the ways you can deal with that is for you to control how you respond to bad blood around you.
Yeah.
One of the ways I have tried over the years in response to having bad blood around me is to feign ignorance. You feign ignorance so much so that you don't even see it anymore. If, for example, you have no choice but to be there, if you're working in a place where there is so much of his politics and it's the job, you actually love the job, but the people around you have problem, and you don't want to engage or play the negative policies that everyone around you is playing, then you just have to begin to feign ignorance.
Yeah.
But that person is being racist towards you. You didn't see it. Like, you're like, oh, really? I thought the person was just having a bad day. And you don't let it take more than 3 seconds of your life, and then you move on. But the moment you sit in that and you begin to ponder over it, and you begin to, stress yourself over it, then it begins to have a physical effect on you.
Yeah.
Then, if the bad blood has gotten to a point whereby it is now an endangerment to your life, then you can now begin to seek legal steps that are available to you. So without feeling bad or something, if, for example, it has gotten to the point whereby there are certain physical traps for you around you, then if it's possible for you to leave that environment, you leave that environment. If it requires you actually calling the legal authorities, then you call the legal authorities when it has gotten to that point. But if it's simply about energy and people gossiping about you, or people saying negative things about you, or people not liking you, or people doing all of that, first step is to feign ignorance. That's what I would say.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you so much for that. So,
Yes,
Queen, when you picture the most limitless version of yourself, what does she look like?
the most limited
The most limitless version of yourself, what does she look
limitless version of myself. Honestly, I look forward to seeing what she looks like.
Oh.
I look forward to
You
seeing
don't
what she
you
looks
don't you
like.
don't have any picture you've created in your mind that me this year, this is how I want to be, this is what I want to achieve, something like that.
Well, yeah, I have all of those pictures, but as the human mind goes, it is still insatiable.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I'm working on Zilex. I want Zilex. I imagine a factory that exists where I
Yeah.
have people. Yeah, carrot oil here, coconut oil here, plantain factory here. I imagine all of those things. I break it down into steps. I'll be like, okay, this year what I want to do is get this mini version of the factory working. I also imagine that, like you, I have like my podcast session all set up and my content creation has gotten far. So I have all of this, but with vision and with dreams, you could get carried away to the point whereby you're not working on them. So what I do is try to break it down to the point where it now becomes actual steps. So the most limited version of myself has a
Mhm.
family, is
Okay.
running a company, and is running a successful communication studio, and whatever it is that I probably feel like doing at that time. I'm still trying to explore more limitless versions of myself.
Yeah, that's fine. So what are the steps you are taking to becoming a?
So yes, one of the active steps I've started taking is, first of all, planning out a business plan for both of my products. The next is trying to secure funding for
Okay.
my plantain chips business.
Okay.
And so yeah, that is basically trying to get like I mentioned earlier, the mini factory in running, so I could get more customers on my radar, to
Okay.
attract more customers and serve more people. That way, I could then move into establishing a more functioning factory. So those are some of the steps I've taken. And as regards to content creation, I took a pause in content creation to restructure actually what my content is going to look like and areas that I'd be focusing. And to achieve that, I'm also moving from a smaller space to a bigger space so I could have more room for
Okay.
good content creation, um, making of my products. So these are the
Okay.
small steps that I'm taking. So
Okay.
yeah,
Congrats.
mostly focused on seeking funding.
Yeah. And I pray Almighty Allah make it easy for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So why do you think it is important for us women to remind ourselves that we are limitless?
It is extremely important because first things first, there are so many reasons. I don't even know where to even start from, Seth. There's the practical reason, there's the emotional reason, there is reasons that come from a point of fear, which I don't think we should focus on all the time, but it's also important for us to look at that. As an African woman, as a woman who I've grown up around African women, I'm going to speak from that point of view instead of from the world generic view. I've seen situations whereby women go through hell, an earthly version of hell, because they did not explore the limitless versions of
God, trust me.
themselves. I've had friends who, when they lost their fathers as children, their whole world fell apart because their mother had only focused on one thing and not, tried to explore a limitless version of herself to the point whereby she could have cushioned the effect of the negativity and bad blood.
What would you say to another queen out there who is still scared to be limitless, scared to start, scared to take that first step?
Say is take baby steps, right? So if you're in a situation where it's difficult for you to become limitless or you're scared of becoming limitless, the first thing you want to do is take baby steps. Whatever little thing that you can do at that moment to make yourself feel like you're beginning to achieve your true potential. If it is for you to start reading daily, if it is for you to start doing daily or start creative videos, whatever, creating videos, rather, whatever little step you can take at that moment, you take it. Another thing is, do not be afraid to ask for help, right? When you're in that situation, if you have people that you can ask for help, ask for help. When I found myself in a situation whereby I had to take those steps, asking for help was one of the things that helped me. And sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts you in certain situations so that you be able to learn from those kind of situations. And when you're scared to become limitless, one of the lessons you're learning at that period is your ability to be humble enough to ask for help and to receive help from those that you know are willing to give you that help. Yes, you're going to be indebted to people, but it is also part of the process. So do not be afraid to ask for help from people that you know could offer that help to you. And that thing is, surround yourself with family or surround yourself with people that love you. When you connect with family or you connect with people that love you, it sort of pushes the effect of what you'd feel if you decide to take that step that you're afraid to take. Then another thing is have absolute belief in Allah. The moment you believe that your source of sustenance comes from Allah alone, because that was what I did. I had to rewire my thinking to truly, truly believe that Allah alone is the one who will provide for me before I took that step that I was scared to take. And till today, I can tell you for a fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been the one providing for me through other people. So these are some of the few steps that I'll advise a woman who is scared to be limitless to take.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your heart with us today, Queen. And I pray Almighty Allah continue to guide you, strengthen you, and reward you for your honesty and courage. And also, thank you to everyone listening. This is another gentle reminder that becoming limitless is not about having it all figured out. It's about continuing to grow into the woman Allah created you to be. And if this episode resonates with you, please share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. You can also follow us on all social media at One Limitless Question with Z. And if you'd love to be part of this session, kindly fill the guest form in the description. Until next time, inshallah, don't forget to always look good, smell good, feel good, and be limitless with Allah. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, sis. Thank you.